Hey, Mike, guess what day it is?
Thursday.
Well, people watching this, it's Saturday, but it's
Hey,
championship Saturday because it's championship week, week 17. We got the info for you. I'm here, you're here, and y'all are here. Let's do this. It's our last show of the year.
it is. It is our last show of the year.
It
Wow.
is our last show of the year. It is championship. I hope that didn't. If we had a producer, his ears would be like, no. Championship week. Let's go. It's time for Big Boned's Whiskey Minute. See, aren't you proud of me? I did not drink at all. Uh, right now, I'm going to make a Manhattan. In the glass, I have bitters, I have vermouth, and a little bit of orange or tangerine. I have a tangerine twist and a fancy Italian cherry that I got for Christmas. I'm going to add some whiskey. And a little bit of ice.
You were ready for this. This was like pre-planned. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Manhattan. And that's Big Boned's Whiskey Minute. The last one of the year.
Yeah, man.
Can't believe it.
No kidding.
So, like, subscribe, comment, share. But I want to tell everybody, even though this is the last week of our in season fantasy content, we will be back with you next week. We will have a week's 2023 recap show. We're going to talk about our season long MVPs, the season long duds, and what to expect in 2024. So stick with the channel, stick with the show, and after we get through all of this stuff, we'll still be back with you next week. So hardcore fans, you know who you are. Check us out.
Yeah. And those end of season shows are always some of the top ones because we get to, reminisce on the season that was and how fast the fantasy football season actually goes by. I mean, geez, like, can you believe that we're already talking about championship week, playoffs next year, rookies, like it happens all so fast. I remember just doing prep for this fantasy football season and, felt like a couple of weeks ago, and we're already talking about championship weekend next year already. So
Yeah, it seems like just 17 weeks ago that we were talking about week one.
it goes right fast. Yeah, like like 120 days ago, we were talking about week one.
All right. I have questions about TJ Hawkinson and uh, Rico Dowdle, and I have questions about Josh Jacobs and other people. So let's go to Mike Greinberg for the news.
All right, folks. Well, we talked about championship week, but want to just wish everybody a happy new year because it's coming up, and hopefully everybody has a really awesome 2024. Good luck to everybody. Wish you all the best. And if you want to make some changes to start 2024, now's the time to do it. So if you got any New Year's resolutions, my only advice is stick with it and follow through. And one of mine was to get myself into fantasy football content creating, and I did that this year, and it was part of my goals. And now look at us.
Same,
So
same. Fishbowl, write for websites, start a podcast, do podcasts for other sites. Bang, 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 bang. Got them all.
congratulations, buddy. That's
You
huge news.
too.
Thanks. Yeah, man. We work hard and we play hard, and that's what we get rewarded for. So let's keep
We're
going.
same paging the fuck out of it.
Let's do it, buddy. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Uh,
And in one of my championships, I got Brees Hall and Jerome Ford tonight. So, hey, Dynasty, it's going to be me.
it's going to be you. Yeah, I got a couple big matchups too. One being the Dynasty Pros Dynasty League. I'm up in the finals against none other than Andy Pham, who's a monster, and he has got Jerome Ford. So I'm up against the wall early, but I made a bunch of big moves and I'm hoping they pay off. So let's see what happens.
He's the one that beat me in the NCAA championship in our C2C in the NCAA part of that league. So
Yeah. He's a
thanks,
player.
Andy.
If you know Andy and you follow his stuff, he is a real player. So if you don't, you should be following Andy Pham on Twitter.
Maybe it was the other league, not the Riders League. I don't remember, but it was one of the two. They're both.
Yeah.
Andy's in both of them, and he beat me in the championship in one of them.
So hopefully one of us could beat Andy. Let's make
Revenge.
Revenge. Okay, so wow. We've got a Saturday game. We've got the Lions that are 11-4 at the Dallas Cowboys at 10-5. I think this is going to be an awesome game. I've had this game circled on my calendar during draft season. I don't normally look at, matchups when I'm drafting and stuff like that, but it was hard to avoid a CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown and a Jahmyr Gibbs. So I have them in a lot of my leagues. And I'm looking for a huge game this week.
Opposite. I just went on with the British podcast that I'm now a multiple time guest on, and basically we look at the lines and we give a favorite, we give an underdog, we give an over and an under, and Lions Cowboys was my under.
Yeah, it could be.
It's a huge line, so it can still hit the under with CeeDee Lamb scoring a couple, with Jared Goff going off. Hashtag Nevada boys, and Gibbs getting his, and like all those things can still happen, and they can still come in under the 54 points or whatever the over under is. But I feel like the Lions are going to be coming off that victory and have a letdown week because they have nothing to play for. They already have their slot in the playoffs, and the Cowboys are they're fighting for it. So I think the Cowboys get out early and control the game, and Detroit doesn't fight very hard. They don't need to.
Yeah, and that's
they can
fair.
relax.
Yeah, this could be a good, a big David Montgomery game then maybe, depending on what happens there. But yeah, you could be right. I never thought of it that angle. I just think Dan Campbell's a competitor, and he's going to want his team playing at top notch headed into the playoffs. I think next week might be the week that he takes a foot off the pedal, if that's the case. But it's still a big line. I mean, either way, 53.5, I think it is. So, I don't know. Both teams are going to have to be on their A game, and they both have pretty decent defenses. So, it could easily be a really low scoring game, or it could easily be a shootout. So, just hoping that for fantasy purposes, that these guys go off.
Yes, and I think that's going to happen, but also the game is going to be mid, as the kids say.
So we have a great New Year's Eve Sunday night football game to end pretty much most fantasy football seasons, unless you're crazy and you are in one of those 18-week where, the fantasy football championship ends on week 18. But this is the Packers 7-8 versus the 7-8 Vikings. Both those teams are outside of the wild card race in the NFC, but the winner of this one can get themselves right back in it. So pretty cool game to be watching. There's some big names in this one too. Jalen Reed is getting back, it looks like. And we have Justin Jefferson without a Jair Alexander. So those that
I
have him in their lineup and saved him, that's going to be a monster game for Double J.
No TJ Hawkinson, and Jaron Hall is the starter. So whatever you have to do. I mean, if you're playing right now, you're in the final. If you're in the final, you don't need Jaron Hall. But if
Mm.
you need Jaron Hall is there. Um, yeah, it's rough, and that game is rough. So you and I were talking a little bit before about fantasy metrics and engines for analytics, and I picked up on something a little bit earlier, and that is Jordan Love's status in the last quarter of the season. He's a top 10 quarterback. I see that trend continuing. I invested in him heavily. I traded Tyreek Hill away for him. So I think the Packers come out on top. They have a lot to play for, and Minnesota's pretty banged up. So I'm going to be watching that game with relish
Mm.
because I'm going to be eating hot dogs.
Okay, yeah. You gonna have some ketchup with that relish? You gotta put that all
No,
over your hot dog, right?
no,
Oh, you should.
no,
Just
no,
give it a try, man. It's so
no.
good.
I have.
So good.
I don't need to try it.
Yeah.
I've done it. No.
Been there, done that. All right, so let's get into injuries. You mentioned TJ Hawkinson, done for the season. So bad. Like, yeah, so
I'm
bad.
glad he waited until I was eliminated from the fishbowl.
Yeah, yeah, because that would have been devastating. Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. Cole Kmet, another tight end. He's dealing with a thigh injury, was forced out of the game on Sunday and it doesn't look too serious. But I don't know if he plays this week, so tough one there.
He's the top 10 guy if he's in the game. Period.
Yeah. Josh Jacobs didn't practice today. Um, some thought that it wasn't an injury that kept him out last week, some personal stuff. That was what I was hearing, but no, it looks like it's actually his injury. So um what do you think? You think Zamir White is another smash play this week? I mean, they have a pretty good matchup and
Zamir is a smash play.
yeah.
Josh is a smash play. Whoever goes. One thing that I noticed from I don't know if you watched if you know that the Raiders played on Monday, but one thing that
Oh,
I
Christmas.
noticed,
Yeah.
yeah, they had a little tussle first game Christmas Day. It wasn't really important or anything, and Jacobs was listed as injury illness. Zamir picked up the slack, led the NFL in rushing for the week, 140 something yards, but who's counting? And Antonio Pierce made a statement about how he wants to be a run first team. I think moving forward with the Raiders, as the Raiders understand who they have in the RB room, Zamir White is a power back. Josh Jacobs is a zone back. They can use that to their advantage and go with a two back system. It takes Jacobs out of the having to carry the ball 30 times a game to get his number. It also opens things up for Zamir White using the power game to wear people down for Jacobs. So if they go with a two-headed attack, I think both of them are viable in fantasy. Um, I wouldn't be afraid to start both this week. You got to take chances.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's fair. Yeah. All right. Brock Purdy with the stinger. He's playing this week. He was cleared. He's in a really good spot, and I'm gonna talk about him a little bit later on today. So we're gonna keep
Yeah,
that one a bit shorter. Jalen Waddle sprained his ankle, and Miami's
I was
win
going to
percentage.
make a Brock Purdy joke.
You can save it. How about you do that? You could save it for later, man. People will be anticipating it now.
Fine,
Okay, don't be mad.
sure. I'm
We're
not
still friends.
mad.
Bone did. Come on
I'm
now. Don't
not
be
mad.
mad.
I'm not
All
mad.
right. All right. Can I talk about Jalen Waddle then?
Please.
All right. So he sprained his ankle in the Miami's win versus the Cowboys on Sunday. It looks like Waddle will be on championship benches this week. Waddle once again hit the injury bug. Miami is in another tough spot this week against the Ravens. So um, Waddle being down, looks like Mostert also has a knee injury here, and he's questionable to play. Tyreek Hill is gonna probably explode this week, and he might break the record and go for 400 this weekend alone in that
I
matchup.
know I know some of you have Waddle on your fantasy teams in the championship, and you're looking to us thinking, what'll I do? Uh, you know, Braxton Berrios, he's not a bad substitute. Uh, I wouldn't play him, but it is tough having Waddle go down. This is a really interesting game to me, and the
Mhm.
reason for that is what Miami did to Dallas last week, and I think Miami has a chance in this game,
For sure, they've
and I want to see it.
Miami's got a good defense, and they've been underrated. They've been going under the radar. They're a top 15 defense in a lot of metrics, and they're on the road, which I think might be the tough one here. The Ravens are a good team outside as well. Miami doesn't do well outside of Miami, outdoors. So it'll be interesting to see how that one shakes out.
Yep, and if you are in an IDP league and Van Ginkel is on the waiver wire, grab him because that fool is going off. Also in Dynasty IDP, Van Ginkel is a nice stash because he's taking the most of his opportunity to show what he can do. And as an every week starter, he was a rotational guy. He's showing that he can play edge and absolutely be disruptive. So go grab Van Ginkel wherever you can.
Oh, I thought you said Ray Finkel.
Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel.
It's Finkel. Finkel's Einhorn.
Van Einhorn.
One of the greatest football movies of all time.
Yes.
All right. So
Laces out, Dan.
Oh, I love it. So Jordan Addison, we talked about the Vikings. He's iffy to play. I give him a 50-50 shot. It is an ankle. He's a wide receiver. Could tape it up. He will be less effective regardless. With Hawkinson out, Jefferson should be in a smash play. It'll be him duking it out with Tyreek for the number one receiver on the week, I would assume here.
We'll get to that in a bit.
All right, man.
I disagree.
Okay. Well, Cortland Sutton has a concussion and he has not practiced yet. So I'm going to be on alert for that one because, I don't know if he plays regardless. What does it matter with Denver, now benching Russell Wilson for the remainder of the season? They're playing the Chargers, who are pretty hapless as well. So this game is it even worth watching? Probably not. Eckler's in a tough spot there against a good defense. I wouldn't be starting any wide receiver from the Chargers. Just a tough game altogether. But without Sutton there's really nobody I'm willing to even roll the dice on in that game.
Well, don't forget that last year in week 17, Jarrett Stidham took over for the Raiders in a similar situation where the team didn't want their starting quarterback to get injured because they wanted to move on from him and they didn't want to have to pay him the injury settlement. So they started Stidham, and what did Stidham do? QB3 in fantasy against the Niners.
And then they sit him.
Well, no, then they cut him. They didn't renew his contract and sent him out of town. I'm just saying. And so that was my overplay of the week was Chargers Denver. Because
Mm.
Easton Stick shouldn't be slept on, and Jarrett Stidham shouldn't either. And yes, Stidham might be down a weapon with Sutton out, but maybe it's Marvin Mims' breakout.
Well, Marvin Mims also showed up on the injury report today. So,
Well, maybe not
and,
then.
and that's a late one. So, what are we? This is perfect timing for all the Jerry Judy truthers to get a good game out of him right as next season starts, so everybody can start buying into Jerry Judy again. And I'm not going to do it again. I'm done with him.
I've
See you
never
later.
done it, and I'm never going to.
Yeah,
So there you have it.
yeah.
Next.
Okay. CJ Stroud looks like he is playing this week. That is awesome.
Woo!
He's back to practice today, which is awesome for Nico Collins and his stock, who's another game healthier. Love it, love it. Isaiah Pacheco, concussion, likely out after a short week. And came up today that Clyde Edwards-Helaire came up on the injury report with an illness today, so we're gonna have to keep close eye on that one. I'd assume CH plays. He gets sick every other day, so that's not news for him. But I would assume that CH plays and is the lead back there in a pretty good matchup against the Bengals. So we'll see that as well moving.
You know what I'd do if I was Andy Reid?
You would be playing Deneric Prince, but
Generic
he's not
Prince,
even. Yeah,
RB1.
he wouldn't even be like he's not even on that like next man up. It's Michael Pirine, which is
That's why
just
I'm not Andy Reid.
yeah, exactly, because it's just pass protection crap that you know Prince probably lacks at a little bit, but we'll see what happens here. I think CH plays.
All right.
All right, Keenan Allen, still no update on him. I'd assume he's not playing and he's done for the year. Brian Robinson as well. Haven't seen anything about him, and now they placed Chris Rodriguez on the IR as well today. So,
Robinson is
um,
likely.
what's that?
Robinson is likely to play.
He is likely to play. Okay,
Yeah, he has been
so
practicing.
you know, look for him to get back to his normal role that he had before. So,
Unfortunately, it's against the 49ers.
yeah, so really tough
So
matchup.
welcome back.
Yeah, welcome
B-Rob.
back. You're playing the 49ers, and you'll probably touch the ball 10 times because it'll be a game script that'll allow for just passing. And
I'd rather
maybe
get
that's
shot in the leg. So sorry. Was that in poor taste?
no, I loved it. That was great. Trevor Lawrence, limited in practice. Man, that guy is an Iron Man. He will play through whatever. Guy got hit by a truck in a McDonald's parking lot, and he is playing tomorrow. Doesn't have his left arm, but he doesn't need it.
And he got shot in the leg.
And he got shot in the leg twice, both
So
legs.
he's out there.
Yeah, he's out there. He's playing. And his hair looks better than ever because of
Wheels up, sunshine.
Yeah, exactly. He's in a tough spot. It's not a great matchup because they're playing a team that they're probably going to win pretty good. And I like Etienne in this position here too. I think he's in a good spot. So we'll talk more about him as well.
Yep.
Awesome. Michael Pittman, concussion. He did shed his non-contact jersey already this week, but he had a setback last week. So, don't count your chickens before they hatch. I'm really hoping that Pittman plays this week. I'd say leaning towards more of like a 60-40 at this stage. I think with him shedding the non-contact today helps.
I don't think it needs to be said that I hope he doesn't.
Okay. You're playing against him, obviously. That's great.
Mm-hmm. And he has a quarterback that can get him the ball.
Yeah, and Minshew without Pittman was a totally different quarterback last week, and he needs his number one guy back. So I like Minshew as a streamer if Pittman plays. If he doesn't, then that whole Colts offense is in trouble.
Right.
Jamar Chase back at practice today. Good sign for his availability. Um, I would say, he would be an automatic start. Obviously, I would be downgrading T. Higgins. I think the key to beating the Chiefs really is on the ground, and Mixon should be in line for a good game this week. I think whether he's efficient with his carries, I think they're going to use him regardless to try and control that clock, um, and keep the hapless Chiefs offense off the field.
To be fair, the downgrade of Higgins is from wide receiver 1 to a wide receiver 2 finish. So
Exactly, agreed. But that's a tough matchup. That secondary is tough. The Chiefs bring it. If they have been vulnerable uh, because Snead can't take all of the coverage, and like we said that today. I don't know if you saw that Jamar Chase interview or whatnot, but they're gonna have to put somebody on him, and the other person's going to be open. So one of them will be open on Sunday.
I mean, if you look at recent history and you have a guy like Snead that can completely shut down one of the best separation wide receivers in the NFL with Devonte Adams, um, the Chiefs defense is rugged, and it is a tough matchup for the Bengals. I don't see a whole lot coming out. Um, I, I they're good. They're really good.
They
That's all I
are.
have to say.
Yeah, they are good.
They're carrying the
Considering,
Chiefs.
yeah, they are. I mean, Aiden O'Connell, I don't think he completed a pass in the second half of that game or
Three
needed to.
quarters.
Yeah, the
Three
last
quarters.
three. Yeah,
A he didn't. B it wasn't the game plan, and C it wasn't all him. There were a few drops.
yeah.
Devontae
No,
had a
but I'm
couple
just saying.
drops.
I'm
I
just
got to
saying.
stick up for my boy though.
Yeah.
Um, he was over from the second quarter on, but he did make some nice passes that were dropped, and it wasn't all attributed to the Chiefs coverage. It was
No,
some poor
it,
play from the wide receivers. So
it had nothing to do with that. I wasn't saying that as a downslide to your your Raiders. I was
oh, I
saying
know.
that
I
more
see you
that,
in your
that
silver and black hat and your silver and black sweatshirt, and I see you've turned to the dark side, and I appreciate it.
yeah. I'm just helping you out this week. You know,
I don't
um,
need help.
yeah, I don't need help. All right, we're almost through these injuries here. So Will Levis, he did practice today to start the week, so looking like he might play this week. So I'm not. It doesn't really matter at this stage of the game. Jaden Reed, I mentioned before, Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, all three Packers wide receivers banged up. Reed is back at practice today, but no Wicks or Watson. Look for Reed to play, but the other two to probably sit this week.
Big week from Reed. I need it. Let's go.
I like Tucker Kraft too, another position here where he's starting to gain some momentum as a steady tight end. That's
But
going to.
watch Musgrave because he's eligible.
Oh, is he? Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's look at that one too. Let's keep that on. I mean, I don't doubt that both of them can be, uh, you know, pretty effective this week. And you know, they're both good pass catchers, and if they're down those guys, the wide receivers, Musgrave will only fit into. I think they'll both play. All right, so Studleys and Dudleys. Bum,
Studleys.
bum,
Time for
bum.
Studleys. Is it time for Studleys? It's time for Studleys. It's time for Studleys. You want to go first? You want me to go first? What's going on? What's happening, Mike?
Okay, well, I'll do my Studleys because I don't really. I mean, this week was kind of like this past week. I was just kind of even keel. I had a really bad call, and Chris Godwin was one of my Studleys. He wasn't a great call whatsoever, but they were all kind of average on my end here. He did finish as a wide receiver 27, and you were able to use him in most leagues. He went 6 for 76, um, but I had a really bad call too. So, do you want me to
All
get
right.
into that one? Do you want me to get that one over with? Or do you want to
Yeah,
do
go for it.
I sucked last week with this one call, and I can't seem to get this player right. So I am done. I am done. I am done. I will never speak your name again, George Pickens. You are done with me. I'm done with you. We are so done with each other. George Pickens went 4 for 195 and 2 touchdowns, and all it took was Rudolph to deliver the goods.
I've been saying all
And
he
I like
needs is a quarterback, and he's going to go off. Same with Treylon Burks. In Dynasty, target Pickens and Burks. Buy them as low as you can. They are going to have incredible year 3 breakouts next year.
right, you heard
Next
it
year, we'll
first.
be talking about him again.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So, my studs. First off, I gave you my top 10 quarterbacks, and out of those 10, 80% of them hit in the top 24 for Superflex. Only 4 out of the 10 made it into the top 10, but we're talking Josh Allen, Joe Flacco at number 3, Lamar, and Jalen Hurts. On the wide receiver side, 70% hit in the top 36, 50% hit in the top 10. CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Amari Cooper, who I gave you as a top 10, and he finished number 1. Mike Evans, I gave you as a top 10, he finished number 6. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, I gave you as a top 10, he finished number 3. Tyreek and A.J. Brown rounded out the top 10. And on the tight end side, I gave you Evan Ingram. He hit number 2. I gave you George Kittle. He hit number 1. On the defensive side, I gave you the Jets. They finished as defense number 10. As for my duds, I only hit 20% of the top 10 running backs. It was a very, very variant week with the top 10 running backs. McCaffrey finished in the top 10 at number 2. Bijan, that's a stud call, though. I gave him as a top 10 running back, and he finishes number 10 coming off of that terrible week that he had before. But look for him to return to the bad place that he's at. So, yeah, that was my duds. I gave you Paycheck, Kamara, JT, and James Cook, and none of them finished in the top 24 for running backs. So that was my bad. And on the tight end side, I gave you Laporta. He finished with 5.3 points. Kylan Granson finished with 11.2. That 7-point difference meant that Laporta was out of the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Yeah.
And then that was the Dudleys.
The Dudleys.
On to the starts.
All right.
Who are you starting? Who are you starting this week, Mike?
Okay, well, I'm going to start it
Who are you
off
starting?
with a full disclosure here. This is based off of Pacheco not playing, and I'm going to start Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Once again, becomes the biggest benefactor of the Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon recent being placed on injured reserve. All of a sudden, CH has been handled the lion's share of the Chiefs' backfield, going up against one of the league's worst run defenses, giving up 127.3 yards per game on average on the ground. CEH is in a good spot and can be used as an RB2/flex play with some upside here.
All right. CEH.
Championship week. Who would have thunk it?
Now, the top 10 running back matchups in order from 1 to 10. Eckler, DeAndre Swift, Ty Chandler, Kyron Williams, whoever is in there for Las Vegas, Zeke, Rachaad White, Jerome Ford, JT, and Kate, whoever's in there for KC. So he's got a great matchup. My top 10 for this week are number 1, Kyron Williams, number 2, Rachaad White, number 3, Christian McCaffrey, number 4, Jacobs or Zeus, number 5, DeAndre Swift, number 6, Ty Chandler, number 7, Jahmyr Gibbs, number 8, Joe Mixon, number 9, Raheem Mostert or Devon Achane, and number 10, Derrick Henry.
Nice. All right. So I've got Brock Purdy versus the Commanders as my next start. So remember when Brock Purdy was leading the NFL MVP race?
I remember that.
It feels like such a long time ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then last week, it seemed like he was irrelevant.
Well, he has helped fantasy managers get to the semifinals. And then
that was my joke, Mike.
I know. Yeah.
Okay.
You're here Did he help you get to the finals? Probably not.
No, the league I had him in, I lost.
Of course, right? But if you still have him and you were lucky enough to, get through last week, Purdy is your championship guy. He's the man. You know, with his MVP probably washed away in one big swoop of a game, Purdy threw 4 interceptions last week in a 33-19 loss and
He turned
scored
into an MIP,
exactly
most irrelevant player.
missing in action, or my MIA, if you will.
Sure.
Yeah, he should rebound this week against the Commanders, who are number one, giving up the most fantasy points allowed against quarterbacks and the second most passing yards to opposing quarterbacks. This is a monster bounce back game for Purdy, and he will continue to be a top 5 quarterback.
What a coincidence, or in Canadian, coinky dink, because I have Brock Purdy as the best matchup of the week in the NFL, followed by Jarrett Stidham, Derek Carr, Will Levis, Pat Mahomes, Bryce Young, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Taylor Heineke, and Taylor. Who? What? Who is
Kaneki,
No, I don't know who. Oh, Ty God Taylor. Sorry,
Tyrod,
Ty God.
Ty
My
God.
top 10 quarterbacks. Number 1, Brock Purdy. Number 2, Derek Carr. Number 3, Patrick Mahomes. Number 4, Dak Prescott. Number 5, Kyler Murray. Number 6, Jalen Hurts. Number 7, Jordan Love. Number 8, Lamar Jackson. Number 9, Josh Allen. And number 10, making his triumphant return and the big boned, big balls call of the week, CJ Stroud. Get him into your lineups.
Get him into your lineup for sure. That's a great matchup. I like him. So my last start of the 2023 fantasy football season is Travis Etienne versus Carolina. Since week 9, Etienne has been the RB33. What a downslide for Etienne after a red hot start. If you are still alive after one of Etienne's worst games of the year, where he rushed 6 times for 12 yards, you should be in good shape this week for Etienne to smash. Carolina gives up the 4th most points per game to opposing running backs and the 12th most rushing yards per game. Trevor Lawrence is also banged up. His status is in doubt, but if he does play, which he will, the Jags will lead on the run, I'm thinking, and should be an easier win for the Jags. Etienne is an RB1 this week for me.
This game is going to be like 16-9 Jags, and Etienne is going to have that touchdown plus leading the team down the field to 3 field goals, and it's not going to be pretty. Carolina's pass defense is good. Ejiro Evero, UC Davis legend, is the defensive coordinator over there in Carolina, and he's done an absolute bang-up job. Unfortunately for the Panthers, Frank Reich and their offensive coordinator haven't. Look for Ejiro Evero to be a head coach in the NFL next year. But, yeah, Etienne, all systems go. It should be a ground and pound game for the Jags. My wide receivers, the top 10 best matchups for Brandon Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy, Chris Olave, DeAndre Hopkins, Rashee Rice, DJ Chark, CeeDee Lamb, Greg Dortch, Drake London, and Wan'Dale Robinson. Now you'll notice there's some guys who are guys in that. How did DJ Chark wind up as a top 10 receiver last week? We might see that again this week. However, he is not in my top 10. My top 10 is as follows. Number 1, CeeDee Lamb. Number 2, Brandon Ayuk. Number 3, Justin Jefferson. Number 4, DK Metcalf. Number 5, Tyreek Hill. Number 6, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God. Zay Flowers. Mike Evans at number 8, Nico Collins at number 9, and Rashee Rice at number 10.
Wow. Okay. Metcalf. That's pretty poppin'.
Let's go.
All right, man. I want to see it. Let's see what happens.
I'm
Okay.
working on this model. So I have some different metrics, and this week I shifted a little bit to try and fine tune some of the variants in it, and we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, those are my
Hey,
top 10.
cool, man. No. I'm intrigued to see it because, yeah, that's an intriguing one to me. Okay, so I've got to sit here, and that's Khalil Herbert versus the Falcons. Herbert had his best game of the year last week, rushing 20 times for 112 yards and a touchdown. Finally, the Bears found their number one and will ride him the rest of the year, right? Not so fast.
No.
Deontay Foreman will be back in week 17 after missing week 16 with the personal matter. And now, once again, it'll be Foreman, Herbert, and Roschon Johnson in that backfield. After an easy matchup versus the Cardinals, now they get the Bears. They have to face a tougher run defense in Atlanta, only giving up 110 yards per game on the ground on average. The Falcons are number 2 in the league, allowing the fewest fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. With Foreman back, I would avoid the Bears' backfield completely in week 17.
Yep. However, and we are a dynasty show, Roschon Johnson should be your target for the coming year. Buy him low. Buy him low. Buy him low. He will have a second year running back breakout next year. Go get Roschon Johnson.
Yeah.
All right. Top 10 worst matchups at the RB position for the week. Number 1, Bijan Robinson. Number 2, James Cook. Number 3, Alvin Kamara. Number 4, I put Gibson, but it's going to be Brian Robinson. Aaron Jones. Derrick Henry. So, sometimes I put just the last name and it throws me. Brees Hall. How did that work out? Gus Bus.
After this year, it's a hard time for you to say Aaron Jones. I get it. You had a lot of stake in him, and he burnt you in a bunch of places. So I get it.
All over the place. Number 9, James Conner, and number 10, Chuba Hubbard.
Mother cupboard.
So if you have alternatives to those guys, don't look for huge games out of any of them, except for Derrick Henry, Brees Hall. They're kind of matchup proof, but Cook and Kamara, they look very dependent on getting swing passes, and if those aren't coming, if the game script doesn't have them being prolific, they're not going to score a lot for you. James Conner, he has been matchup proof. I keep talking about him having terrible matchups the last couple weeks, and maybe that's one of my problems with my metrics is that I keep talking about Conner having a bad matchup, leaving him out of my top 10, and then he shows out, and then Chuba too. But still, those are the bad matchups of the week.
Yeah, and people need to know about him because it helps you be informed, because I would rather start somebody with a better matchup if it's borderline, right? So,
right,
that's why we need to know these things. So, I love this aspect of the show now that you've added. So, way to go.
Yes. That's why I did it. I just need your approval.
Oh, you get it nonstop, man. You know that. All right, so my next sit is Drake London versus the Bears. So this game, I just don't like this game. It's a very low scoring game, in my opinion. It's going to be, the line suggests that as well. London had a juicy matchup last week at home and couldn't muster more than 3 catches for 39 yards on 4 targets, and that was in a dome. This week, they head over to Chicago to play outside at the end of December. Chicago's defense has been playing good as of late, and London also hasn't scored a touchdown in ages. And this could be another down game for him on the road in Chicago.
Yes. The one of my goals for next year is to get to the punk rock museum in Las Vegas. And I just, you know how you learn something new every day? One of the new things that I learned today was that at the punk rock museum, they have the actual handwritten lyrics that Joe Strummer from The Clash took into the studio before he recorded London Calling. And it's going to stay in the studio or in the museum in Las Vegas because there will be no London Calling for the Falcons.
Perfect.
I went a long way for that. All right.
You did. You did. And I
So
appreciate your effort. Your effort is just, it's second to none, folks. Second to none.
my the worst 10 matchups at the wide receiver position for week 17, your championships. Listen carefully. Number 1, Amari Cooper. So we'll substitute that with any Browns receiver, but none of that matters because you won't see this until Saturday. Number 2 is Garrett Wilson. Ditto. Number 3, Calvin Ridley. Again, that Panthers defensive back core
Tight.
is good. Number 4, Jamar Chase. Number 5, Tyreek Hill. Number 6, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Number 7, Demario Davis. Number 8, somebody named Moore. DJ Moore.
The
Number
more you
9,
know.
Mike Evans. And number 10, Michael Pittman. We can substitute Josh Downs if we need to. None of those guys are in a good spot this week. However, some of them are in my top 10 because they are matchup proof. So if you need to do some moving around, go for it. When I say that, I mean, hey, maybe if you don't like Demario Davis's matchup, you throw DJ Chark in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, DJ Chark, I love him in DFS this week. You wouldn't trust him in a fantasy football championship, but like
I
last
would
week,
over
if there was
Demario
any of it,
Douglas,
of
and that's
course,
what we're
yes,
doing here. I
yeah,
would over
yeah,
Josh Downs, and that's what we're doing here.
of course, absolutely, 100% over those guys for sure. So my last sit of the 2023 season is Dalton Kincaid versus the Patriots. Kincaid has been on a 4-game slide since the return of Dawson Knox and the firing of offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. During that 4-game span, Kincaid is the tight end 53. The Bills have changed their offensive philosophy, are now reverted more to a run-heavy offense. The Patriots are a tough out, a team that manages the clock by running the hell out of the ball. I wouldn't be surprised to see Zeke touch the ball 30 times this weekend. The Bills are heavily favorites in this one in the one of the lowest scoring lines of the week. Look for the Bills to lean on the run game, abandoning the pass early. Kincaid is outside my top 20 this week.
Yeah, what happened to him? That's what's so funny about the tight end position is that everybody went into the season saying that Dalton Kincaid was the sure shot number 1 of all the rookies. Sam Laporta completely passed him, and Kincaid, I don't think he's going to finish as a top 10 tight end for the season. So it's there's so much variance. Tight end position is so volatile. I even have dynasty leagues that I've created where there's no designated tight end position. You are okay to play tight ends in flex, but there isn't a designated tight end. It, I mean, it just like it's so hard to nail down tight ends, unless follow Andrew Cooper on Twitter. He's got some formulas that work out pretty good. All right, so on to my bottom 10 matchups for quarterbacks. Number 1 and 2 are Joe Flacco and Trevor Siemian. How's that working out? Joe Flacco is having himself a night. Of course, a couple of those were swing passes to Jerome Ford, but regardless. Number 3, Trevor Lawrence. Number 4, Jake Browning. Hashtag NorCal. Number 5, Tua Tagovailoa. Number 6, Jared Goff. Hashtag Nevada Boys. Bailey Zappi, Justin Fields, Baker Mayfield. Let Mayfield bake. And Gardner Minshew.
Right?
So, again, If you've got uh, if you've got Bryce Young sitting on your bench and Bailey Zappi, just go ahead and throw Bryce Young in there instead. If you wound up grabbing Heineke off the waiver wire and you're looking at Gardner Minshew, I would make that move also. Baker has been playing out of his mind, but you know what? I say give Stidham a chance. That kind of thing. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, I agree, man. Yep. Yeah, we're right on target there. All right.
Hang on, producer. Hey, hey, producer. Can you get us over to oh, you missed the sits, big guy. Way to go. Um, can you get us over to the streams? Yeah, great, thanks. Don't drop the ball again, or you're fired. All right, it's time for the streams.
All right, Mike.
Picking who to stream. That is what we do. Grindberg and Big Boned. So I don't know. Whatever. It's the
Okay.
last. It's the last week of the fantasy season.
Yeah, man. And I'm gonna stream a tight end because everybody needs it after. If you're a Hawkinson order or a Cole Kmet order, you're probably scrambling right now. And there's some good streamers out there. I'm gonna lay one name off of the on the line here, and I'm sure Brendan will give you a couple more or at least one. I got Jawan Johnson, Derek Carr, Jawan Johnson, and the Saints passing attack as a whole have been heating up as of late and at the right time for Saints and fantasy managers. With a touchdown in each of the last two games, Johnson this week is facing the Buccaneers, and Tampa is number 5 in allowing fantasy points to opposing tight ends this season. Johnson is an easy streamer this week for me in a good matchup, heating up at the right time with Derek Carr. You know, Derek Carr has got 8 touchdowns in his last 3 games, so that's a good sign, and I think things are going to get better.
I kept saying it takes a while for the offense to gel, and Derek Carr has been absolutely nuts the last couple weeks. And I got a little inexplicably excited when he said Jawan Johnson because that's who was in my brain to talk about because he's in my top 10 this week. My top 10 tight ends for the week: George Kittle, Sam Laporta, Kyle Pitts, Jawan Johnson, Chigo Okonkwo, Kyle Kmet, Travis Kelsey, Trey McBride, Luke Ferguson, Darren Waller.
Perfect. Okay. Sweet, man. And for my defense, okay, maybe I'm stealing your thunder. I hope I'm not, but I'm giving you the red hot Las Vegas Raiders.
Raiders.
How could you go against them this right now? They're playing lights out. That defense controlled the game. They against the Chiefs, they those game changing. Those 2 plays, and then they controlled it. Aiden O'Connell didn't have to throw another pass. That was my point. Is that you don't need to throw passes when your defense is playing that good. Mahomes was a benefactor of that to start the year, and now he's seeing the other end, and that's what happened this weekend. I think this week the Raiders are gonna light up the Colts, especially if Pittman isn't in.
The thing about the Raiders defense is that they haven't been a fluke. Anybody who has been using the Raiders defense in fantasy football in the last 4 weeks has seen what they are capable of. They are harassing the hell out of opposing teams. You have 2 weeks in a row where you have a fat guy touchdown and a Jack Jones pick six. Now, Jack Jones, he is a super, super talented guy, and he didn't fit in New England as far as his attitude and his behavior. But he came over to the Raiders, to the coach that he's had since he was 13 years old, who coached him in high school, who coached him in college, and is now coaching him on the pro level. And Jack Jones is absolutely showing out. By the way, anybody who's offended by his Grinch move, as it was referred to on the internet, where he went to go give the pick six ball to a young Chiefs fan and then pulled it away and then ran off smiling and laughing. It was confirmed by multiple sources that he did that because there was a drunken Chiefs fan who reached over to try and snatch the ball from the kid when Jones was trying to give him the ball, and he pulled it away from the adult man
Mhm.
who was trying to ruin the kid's Christmas. So take it easy. It wasn't like he was trying to like psych out a little boy. It
No,
was
no.
an older man was like trying to horn in on it, and he was like, "No, no, no, this is not cool." Max Crosby is an absolute force. He should be the decoy. If he's not, there is malfeasance. Nobody plays all the snaps, stops the run, and is in the league leaders in sacks. Jack Jones is coming on. The defensive tackles are coming on. Patrick Graham's scheme is starting to work, and it started when Josh McDaniels left. Patrick Graham got to put his guys in and scheme the way he wanted to, and you see the difference. And the other big one is Malcolm Kuntz, who's been an absolute force. He's starting to come into his own as an edge rusher. He's being the opposite end to Max Crosby that is giving offensive lines fits. They harassed the crap out of Patrick Mahomes last week. Indy has a really good offensive line, but the Raiders' defensive line is absolutely legit. Now, if you had asked me a month ago what the Raiders' chances were, and I'm sure we've talked about that, I was a naysayer. But all of the things are falling into place, even having to go through Indianapolis like we did 2 years ago when Derek Carr put the team on his back with Rich Bisaccia as our head coach and willed them into the playoffs. We have to go through Indy. If we lose this game, it's over. If we win this game, we get one more shot and we get the Broncos without Russ Wilson. We have a chance. We have a chance at the playoffs, and Antonio Pierce is a leader of men. There are three different kinds of coaches in the NFL. There are geniuses at schemes, there are leaders of men, and then there are the rare few who do both. Mike McDaniel in Miami is a scheme genius and also a leader of men. He's in that rare category. Antonio Pierce is of the Mike Vrabel ilk. Uh, Rene, Ron Rivera before he lost his fastball. These guys know the game and they know how to lead people. And that's exactly what has been happening in Vegas. Patrick Graham is scheming the defense and he's a genius. Bo Hardegree is scheming the offense, and he's doing just enough. He's making the right play calls and everything. And Antonio Pierce is leading the charge for that squad into the brink. And they win this game on the road as dogs, and it's going to be beautiful. And if they don't, I may or may not be back next week.
No, no, they'll be there. And I agree with you. I mean,
I'll be back
there's
next week. I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
there's a new era of like coaches, and that's the type of coach you're talking about, the leader of men, and it is more now pronounced more than ever. I see it very close to heart here in the CFL. There's a guy named Mike O'Shea who's led my Winnipeg Blue Bombers to 5 Grey Cups, and he's able to sign guys. Like, the contracts here work a lot differently. They're only 1-year contracts for the most part. So to sign guys continuously for people to want to come back, they're coming back for a coach, and it's a leader of men, a guy that is in the trenches. He knew how to play the game. He knew he relates to the players. And that's what I think these players, these $1 million players are, you know, more receptive to believing and buying into. And I think that is the type of coach that is going to be successful in a place like Vegas. Uh, he's done enough for me to get him next year. Hopefully it's done enough for the Raiders ownership. Um, I love Champ Bailey as well there. We talked about that last week.
Mm-hmm.
Raiders are in good shape. They're in a position to even be in the sweepstakes for a quarterback too. Who's stopping them from going after Justin Fields? Who's
Right.
stopping them from going after a Kyler Murray if that's the case? These guys that are I think the whole market is waiting to see what happens there after the draft. I think this offseason is going to be huge for a lot. I think it's going to be a lot is going to change this offseason, and it's going to be cool to see. So don't get your rankings up to date just yet. Wait for the draft because shit's going to go down. I'm telling you that.
Yeah, and they could definitely benefit from like moving up in the draft and grabbing a Michael Penix, or or waiting on JJ McCarthy, something like that. Somebody, it's not hard to picture Aiden O'Connell being beaten out in camp. It's just hard to picture the Raiders' situation in which they bring somebody in to do that. And if that doesn't happen, Aiden O'Connell should be okay moving forward. As a game manager, he's an accurate passer. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He didn't complete a pass in quarters 2, 3, and 4 against the Chiefs, but guess what? He had no turnovers too. So if you are calling the right plays in the right situations and you have a backfield that can move the ball, push the ball forward, like the Raiders have shown that they can do, that's a great situation. But
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about the Vegas defense. One of the things that Max Crosby was talking about in his podcast was the game plan that they had going into the week. Now, again, Patrick Graham is the one who runs the defense. He's the one that calls the plays. He's the one that makes sure that the players are getting in and out in the right schemes and everything. But Antonio Pierce, during the week of practice last week, had a 4-part plan for going against the Chiefs. And he split it into 4 quarters. And he said, this is our goal for the first quarter, the second quarter, the third, and the fourth. And the first was to come out strong. And the fourth was to finish just as strong as they started. So one day they practiced first quarter. This is what we're going to do the first quarter. And he had a video that was basically like themed for that. Then the next day was the second quarter. Then the next day was the third, and the
Mm-hmm.
following day was the fourth quarter. And he had videos for each of them, and he led them, and they were all dialed in, and they were all on board. And he's going to do that this week. He's doing the same damn thing. They're all bought in, and it's going to be a huge day for the Vegas defense, I think. They've been showing that they can do that. They did it against the Chiefs. They did it against the Chargers. They do it against teams that are prolific. They can do it against, especially indoors.
Oh yeah.
They can do it against the Colts. They're not my streaming defense, however.
Who is?
The the Browns, of course.
All right. Well, they're playing right now, so
Oh yeah, no. uh, Jacksonville. Jacksonville's my streaming defense of the week.
perfect. Yeah, I like that defensive call for sure. It's going to be a low scoring game. They're going to pound the ball like my HN call. So let's do it.
But you're not here for streaming defenses because you're already in the final and you already have your defense set. And
Yeah.
But if you need somebody, Jacksonville.
Bingo
But you
bango.
already have the Raiders because I told you a few weeks ago to take
Yeah.
the Raiders, and you've just left them in your lineup. But Jacksonville.
Bingo bango, man. Wow.
Bingo, motherfucking bango.
So we are done.
We're done.
2023 season, and I just wanted to say thank you to you, man. Like you've been a rock for me. You've held me up. You've been such a big positive influence in my life, and I appreciate you so much. So thanks for teaming up with me, and I appreciate you a lot, and I appreciate all the viewers and all the people subscribing because we wouldn't be able to do this without you all too. So thanks everybody. It's been a great season. Hopefully you're winning your championships. And yeah, man, what do you got to say?
Same seas. One of the things is the weird way in which Mike and I came together. The kinds of things that we were doing before the season started. We had very similar goals. We were on the same page, and somehow things trickled together, and we found ourselves in the writers' chat for DynastyProsFootball.com. And I had the intent of doing visual content. And I asked Mike to come on with me, and we did a Dynasty Dilemmas, and it was great. And we formed a good relationship because we got along really well. And that blossomed into more. And now, inexplicably, me in this tiny Northern California university town and Mike up in Winnipeg, Manitoba have become very, very good friends. I value your friendship.
Absolutely.
I totally look forward to working with you moving forward on Dynasty Pros. Whatever we do, we're going to do big things and we're going to do it together. And I'm glad that you and I are same page in the fuck out of it.
Yeah, man. I got a knife here. I'm just
Oh, you
gonna.
don't have a wobbly pop? Where's your wobbly pop?
I'm just gonna slip my wrist. I'm just gonna just.
Oh,
Blood brothers.
blood brothers. This is
100%.
pointing. I can do that too.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Cheers, buddy.
you should be lifting a wobbly pop. There you go. Okay.
Ding. I wasn't slitting my wrist.
No, and
I said
if
that
you're
wrong.
contemplating suicide, please call the suicide hotline.
Mm-hmm.
It's not funny. It's not a joke. But to the viewer, however many of you there are that have lasted this long and are watching this part of it, I love you. And I'm so glad that you're here and you followed our content. You know where to get us at Big Boned FFB on Twitter, at FF Canuck on Twitter. Follow us in all the places. Keep liking us. Keep subscribing to us. Keep commenting to us. Although I don't think we've had a comment that wasn't me in months. But look for big things going forward. Follow along with us because we will lead you to championships. And Happy New Year.
Yes.
I want to give you my favorite Irish toast. May the worst days... Yes, may the worst days of your 2024 be better than the best days of your 2023.
Cheers to that, buddy. Cheers to you all.
Also, check out the last season of Letterkenny. It's really, really good. Mike even lives in Canada, and he hasn't seen it yet.
I live where, like, I mean, I'm lucky. I'm lucky I even have Wi-Fi right now. Our power generator outside my igloo right now is working overtime.
You don't have an igloo. Eskimos have igloos.
Yes.
That's racist. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. Natives. Blankets, Inuits, those are the ones that have igloos. So, on behalf of everybody at DynastyProsFootball.com, Mike Greinberg, Brendan Booth, Big Boned, have a happy new year. I hope you win, and we'll see you next year. Oh, shit. Took too long.